Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Ulam Robani and I'm the student of University of Pancasakti Tegal. I'm a student of English Education Program. And here in this video today I will tell you about how to use the SPSS computer software to analyze and classify English exam result. Okay, so let's get going. The first of all, let me discuss about the background of the problem as to why I uh, brought this subject to discuss. Okay, so um, the main whole of the thing we are gonna discuss today, it is about assessment. And assessment is an integral part of learning. As Sally Brown stated, assessment is an essential element in the learning process and must not be treated as a pull-down extra at the end of teaching and learning process. By doing an assessment, teachers will be able to monitor the progress of their students, to check whether they have understood the material given or not, and also to create feedbacks for the students. The feedbacks given to the students then can be used to improve their overall achievement and performance. Hence, it can help them reach the maximum learning experience to get better results. Therefore, McDowell, 1996, exclaims that the possibility that innovative assessment encourages students to take a deep approach to their learning and foster intrinsic interest in their studies is widely welcomed. From the points stated above, one can conclude that a good assessment will result in better learning result and achievement. However, doing assessment is by no means an easy process. It requires time, effort, and careful attention to many factors, such as students' mood, the recent trend, and also the national education goals, the local employment or educational needs, etc. Hence, various methods and tools have been created to provide a better assessment process. And it is very important for teachers to use the appropriate assessment method and tools for different conditions and situations because they have a great impact for the whole learning process. Assessment methods and requirements probably have a greater influence on how and what students learn than any other single factor. This influence may well be of greater importance than the impact of teaching materials, stated by Booth in 1988. And the recent change in the technology and also the wide usage of computer ever since the late of 20th century has given way to many innovations in doing things. Because by the help of computer software, many works which used to take a great deal of time and effort to accomplish by the help of computer software, many works which used to take a great deal of time and effort to accomplish have been made easier, faster, and more efficient. Moreover, it works really well for jobs which deal with data and numbers. As humans are prone to make calculation error, the usage of calculation software have risen significantly as more and more companies and organizations strive to get more faster, efficient, and error-free calculations. This fact also applies to education field because many applications such as MATLAB, Microsoft Excel, and SPSS has been used widely all around the world for many purposes, for statistical analysis, including assessment purposes. And among all the calculations software mentioned previously, SPSS is considerably an interesting tool to discuss. It is a commercial software and a common tool used in teaching statistics at the college level. It is also one of the most widely used computer programs for the analysis of quantitative data social behavioral sciences, according to Koch and Bittarsa in 2017. SPSS Computer Program is deemed suitable for many statistical purposes, including for assessment process in the teaching and learning process. Why? Because SPSS has a friendly and easy to use graphical user interface, which makes it provide a great experience for the user to calculate and analyze data, as it provides the menu in drop-down items, not as a list of functions such as in Microsoft Excel. And it also provides more flexible and fluid way of creating graphics and charts output compared to Excel. Hence, by using SPSS, classifying and analyzing exam results will be easier, faster, and more efficient. This study focused on the procedure of classifying and analyzing senior high school students' English exam by using SPSS computer software. Okay, before we go further into the discussion, let's discuss about the statement of the problem. Okay, so in the study, the nature of SPSS computer software and its use in classifying and analyzing senior high school students' exam result is explored. As such, based on this present study, these research questions are formulated. The first, what is SPSS computer software? The second, what kind of calculations can be done by using SPSS computer software? Third, how does SPSS computer software help in classifying and analyzing senior high school students' English exam result? And then the fourth, what is the procedure of classifying and analyzing senior high school students' English exam result by using SPSS computer software? Okay, let's go on to the next chapter, that is discussion. Okay, so there are two parts. The first is the review of related theories, and then the second is discussion. Okay, let's go to the review of related theories. The first part, that is exam result evaluation. As previously mentioned that assessment is an integral part of learning, because at the end of every lesson, the students are required to take a certain form of test or assessment to make sure that they have understood the material or the lessons taught by their teacher. And also, by doing this process, the teacher will be able to know the progress their student make throughout the course for the given period. And also, the students will also get feedbacks based on their results of the test. And these feedbacks can be used to fix or improve the parts where they are lacking, or to enhance the part where they have understood quite well. Because of that, assessment result will also become an indicator whether the learning process was a successful one or an unsuccessful one. For example, say, if there are too many students receive bad marks, then the whole learning teaching process may need to be revised. Whether it is the curriculum, the teaching method, the teaching technique, media, or any or others. Okay. Therefore, the whole assessment process could influence the student's attitude and behavior toward learning. This phenomenon is often called as washback effects. A student needs to master the previous material before they can go on to the next material. This learning principle is often called as mastery learning. If a student pass an assessment with reasonably good marks, then and only then will they be able to progress to the next materials. For those who didn't succeed, they need to take supplementary lessons and remedial tests to make sure that they are ready to take the next lesson. Therefore, Sally Brown, 1994, stated that assessment is an essential element in the learning process and must not be treated as a bolt-on extra at the end of teaching and learning process. Now let's go on to the second part, that is about the SPSS computer software. SPSS computer software, it was first launched in 1968 as the statistical package for the social sciences. And then in 2009, it was acquired and extended by IBM and is now used well beyond the social sciences. Although it has retained the name SPSS, it is no longer an acronym, and the software is officially known as IBM SPSS. According to IBM SPSS statistics for Windows 2017. The statistical package for social sciences, or SPSS for short, is a package of programs for manipulating, analyzing, and presenting data. The package is widely used in the social and behavioral sciences. There are several forms of SPSS. The core program is called SPSS base, and also there are a number of add-on modules that can be added to extend the range of data entry, statistical or reporting capabilities. And in this study, we will not discuss about the advanced models and also regression models, but just the basic one. Okay, so it distributes the standalone programs that works with SPSS. Okay, SPSS comes with a command line interface and graphical user interface with pull-down menus. There are 3 windows in SPSS: data editor, viewer, and syntax editor. And each window has a different role. The data editor window offers a simple and efficient spreadsheet-like utility for entering, editing, and browsing data file. It has 2 distinct views, the data view and variable view, which are accessible through the tabs at the bottom of the data editor window. The data view displays the working data file, and the variable view shows the properties for each variable in the dataset. The viewer window contains the result from the statistical procedures, and the syntax editor window allows the user to write SPSS commands. The graphical user interface provided by SPSS offers a convenient way for users to see and select options on the drop-down menus, such as Files, Edit, View, Data, Analyze, etc., for carrying out several statistical analyses, and hence makes it very easy and intuitive for all levels of users, from beginner to the advanced one. Another advantage of SPSS is that it also allows the users to import data from other sources. When data are organized as rectangular datasets, for example, say the Excel spreadsheets, in a few basic and straightforward steps. There are versions of SPSS for Windows, starting from Windows 98, 2000, ME, MT, XP, 7, 8, and also 10. Also for major Unix platforms such as Solaris, Linux, AIX, and also Mac. And then in this study specifically, we will discuss the use of SPSS for Windows, in which SPSS for Windows offers a spreadsheet facility for entering and browsing and working the data file, which also called the data editor. Output from statistical procedures is displayed in a spread window, that is the output viewer. It takes the form of tables and graphics that can be manipulated interactively and can be copied directly into other applications. It is graphical user interface that makes SPSS so easy by simply selecting procedures from the many menus available. Because of the many functions and convenience SPSS provide, SPS, um, SPSS is certainly has become many people's favorite to use, also including those on the education field. So let us go to the third part of the review of related theories, that is the use of SPSS computer software for assessment purposes. As has been described before, SPSS is very easy and convenient to use for many statistical purposes, and because when doing an assessment, a teacher will deal with many data and many numbers, and they also will need to make inferences or maybe other analysis, for example, like searching the mean of the grades, or maybe the maximum score or minimum score, etc. Hence, the use of computer software is very helpful in this regard. As such, there were many researchers do their research with the help of this software. For example, like Koch and Witarsa's research in 2003 with the title of A Review of Data Analysis for the Behavioral Sciences Using SPSS, and Osgur et al. Research in 2015, which have the title of Selection of Statistical Software for Solving Big Data Problems, a Guide for Businesses, Students, and Universities. And as mentioned by Proctor in 2002, SPSS has many advantages over Microsoft Excel, from the easier calculation, command input, easier data viewing and editing for different variables, and also the various multitude outputs it provides. Hence, SPSS is arguably suitable to use for assessment purposes, such as classifying and analyzing English exam results. Okay, that's all for the review of related theories. Let us go to the next part, that is discussion. Okay, for the discussion today, we will discuss about the way to use SPSS specifically to classify and analyze students in English exam result by importing the file from Microsoft Excel. To do it, here are the steps. There are 3 steps to do this. The first is clean the data file. Okay, so first of all, you need to open the Excel file which contains the data, and then you need to delete the first 2 lines of the data file so that the first row contains the name of the variables. And then after that, delete all lines after the data. But of course, because you may need those data later, it is advised that you save it in another worksheet or file before you delete all the lines after the data. Okay, and after you do that, the listing will be shown like this picture. After that, you save it with a new name to be imported to SPSS. Okay, and then the next step, the second one, is import the data file into SPSS. So first you need to open the SPSS, and then you go to the file, open, and then data. In the dialog box, choose Excel for the file of type, and in the browser window, navigate to the folder where the Excel file is saved on the computer, and then click on the file so that the name shows up in the file name box. click open and then click OK in the next box. Make sure you check the read variable names from the first row of data. Okay, and here are some pictures to illustrate the commands. And then after you do that, the data should now look something like this. Okay, and then the third step, it is performing an analysis. Okay, for example, in this study, we will do an analysis of groups with ANOVA and also Turkey post hoc. Why? Because it may be important to know if students from different classes or majors scored statistically significantly differently on the test. Statistical significance means that the differences are unlikely to be this large or larger due to chance. It doesn't always mean that the differences are large enough to be meaningful. Hence, we use an ANOVA to estimate this. And in SPSS, there are many ways to run ANOVA. Okay, and then here is an example using the one-way ANOVA procedure. First, you choose analyze, compare means, and then one-way ANOVA. Yep, like this picture. And then after that, you choose the dependent variable on which you want to compare the groups, for example, like percent correct or number correct, and then use the arrow key to click it into the dependent list. In this case, choose class standing or major as the factor, and then return to the one-way ANOVA box. If you haven't run the means for average for each group, you can click options, and then you can also check the descriptive to get the descriptive statistics analysis of the data. And then after that, you click continue, and then once interface is back to the one-way ANOVA box, clicks OK. After that, it will provide an output similar to this. The dataset used in this example had 7 sophomores, 15 juniors, and 65 seniors. Okay, the juniors here can be seen scored approximately 3 percentage points below the sophomores, but the seniors scored nearly 8 percentage points above the sophomores. In the column headed as mean, and in the column labeled as standard deviation, it indicates how much the scores varied within its groups. For example, we can see that the juniors' scores varied less than the sophomores or the seniors' scores. And also, the next is the column labeled standard error. It is the standard error for the group mean. That is the standard deviation of the scores divided by the square root of the sample size. The sophomores and seniors here have roughly similar standard deviations, but the senior have a smaller standard error. Why? Because the mean is based on more students. The 95% confidence interval gives a plausible range for the mean. The interval will be narrower when the standard error is smaller. And then finally, the minimum and maximum are the lowest and highest scores in each group. The ANOVA table is also part of the output, and then it answers the question of whether the groups differ significantly in their mean scores. Okay, the table is like this, and the main thing about this table is that the probability, that is the value in the SIG column of observing group means that differ this much or more is less than 0.05. The groups are deemed to be significantly different. Differences this large or larger would occur by chance less than 5% of the time. if the group means were equal. In this chance, we would report the groups were statistically different because the F at 2.84 is equal to 5.872 with P is equal to 0.004. Now let's go on to the next analysis, that is the reliability analysis. Before I discuss about it, let me explain first about reliability. So what is a reliability? Reliability is an index of how well students can be supported by their scores. Therefore, if the students are more variable than the norming sample, they will be supported more reliably, or in this case, the test is reliable. In SPSS, to do this, we go to the Analyze menu, go to Scale, and then Reliability Analysis, like in this picture. And then click all the items included in the score, generally all items. You can select multiple items by clicking on the first one, holding the Shift key, selecting the last item. And then click the arrow to move selection to the items box. Okay. After that, you will get an output. But let me explain first about the coefficient. So there are several reliability coefficient, and the most common reliability coefficient estimate that is used nowadays is the coefficient alpha, also called as Cronbach's alpha. For items scored right or wrong, this index is also called as KR20. This is an estimate of the correlation between scores on the current test form and another test form selected randomly from the hypothetical test of items. So in this case, you choose alpha in the selection box next to the model, and then it will provide an output such as this, where this indicates that the correlation between two randomly selected forms is estimated to be 0.791 for this group of students. Another way of interpreting this is that about 79% of the variance in scores is due to true differences and 21% is due to measurement error. Other than Cronbach's alpha, another reliability coefficient estimate that is increasingly used is Goodman's lambda 2, in which Goodman's lambda 2 is larger or is equal to alpha. While alpha is an estimate of correlation between scores on randomly equivalent test forms, lambda 2 is intended as an estimate of the correlation between scores on parallel test form, and thus will generally be higher than alpha, although it is still a lower bound to the correlation between parallel scores. Whereas we choose Cronbach in the previous selection box next to the model, this time we choose Goodman, and then it will provide an output like this. Of this Goodman, lambda 2 or lambda 3 is the estimate generally used. Goodman proposed lambda 1 only as a starting point of his derivation, so it is not really an index to actually be reported. And then the lambda 3 is actually identical to alpha. So the only estimate we will use is lambda 2. Here the lambda 2 is 0.81 and 2, so it can be inverted. 81% of the variance is due to the true scores and 19% is due to error. Error here is defined slightly different for lambda 2 than it was for alpha. And for interpreting this result, there are no single guidelines for interpreting, but there are some recommendations from the literature. if it is done for a group level interpretation, such as program evaluation, research, etc., then the value it will need at least 0.70. And then if it is for low stakes individual decisions, for such as instructional feedback, it will need at least 0.80. Okay, that's it for the discussion, and let's go to the next chapter, the third one, that is the conclusion and suggestion. Okay, so from the study done here, there are two main conclusions which can be found. That is, the first, in using SPSS to classify and analyze English exam result, there are several steps to follow, such as the first is clean the data file, the second is import the data file into SPSS, and then the third is performing an analysis. Okay, so actually these three steps are the primary steps which should be done for this. And then the second conclusion is that the analysis itself can be done in various ways, whereas in this research, in this study, we study the analysis of groups with ANOVA and Turkey post hoc, and also selecting groups to analyze, and also we analyze the reliability. Here, the use of ANOVA is to find the mean and standard deviation for the student's score, and also to compare the achievement of one student with the others, and also one group with the others. Whereas the reliability analysis is done to make sure that the test instrument used is reliable as the source of calculation for the student's achievement in the teaching and learning process. And then next, the suggestion. So after the conclusions mentioned previously, we can see that SPSS is actually very helpful to use for assessment. So it is advised for teachers which may have insufficient time, or maybe there are too many data or large number of grades to process. They can use this software, SPSS computer software. However, to use it, understanding and caution is highly advised, because a computer software's superb efficiency and effectiveness would mean nothing if the input given by the human here is incorrect, or often called as human error. And then also because the software is always upgraded periodically, and each upgrade will certainly comes with some changes, it is advised that the users learn various versions of the software, not just one, lest it would become outdated and can't be used anymore. Okay, everyone, that's it for today. I hope you understand the explanations and the discussion. So thank you for listening. See you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.